Still traveling north to Wolf Creek, I-5, enjoying a rainy drive on a cool, overcast day, and listening to all the Beatles albums back to back to back to back to back. We have listened now to Please Please Me, Meet the Beatles, Hard Day's Night, Beatles for Sale, Help, Rubber Soul, Revolver, and we just listened to Sgt. Pepper's. So, Sgt. Pepper's is a great album, and when I was a kid and listening to my dad's Beatles albums, that's the one I listened to the most. However, it does have, and is a bit of a problem, it persists throughout the years, it's got a terrible George song. Now, granted, it's not really terrible, right? It's good for that kind of song, but that kind of song is inherently terrible, so it's like, it's the best it can be because the Beatles are doing it, but it's still a skipper, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas Rubber Soul had no skippers.
No.
0 skippers. And that Sgt. Pepper's had just one sitar song. And what's interesting is before that, what is that sitar song called? So is that Blue Jay Way or?
No. Within You, Without You.
Okay. So the Beatles knew that George was aesthetically wrong. And so what they did is they put, for the benefit of Mr. Kite before it, and When I'm 64 after it, to apologize in advance and afterwards for the suckiness of that song. That's what I think.
It worked.
But the album is genius in the way that it completes itself. It's got a first song and a second to last song. It's a coda of the first song, and then it's got Day in the Life at the very end. There'd be like a meta frame on the album. It's more lushly produced than the previous albums that we listened to, but that kind of means it's both a good thing and a bad thing. It means like all the instrumentation is blended better, but they use more reverb and the vocals aren't as present, you know? So it's
I never noticed that.
give and take sometimes with those things in production. Any thoughts you got on Sgt. Pepper's, Rachel?
It's a classic album. I used to listen to it a lot too. I loved driving around in my car and listening to that album.
The songs transition into each other really well.
Yes.
So that it beats Revolver in that regard. Like when the first song ends, it goes into what would I do? It's so perfect the way it segues and everything. And it's like that throughout the whole album, except for that one sitar song.
Yeah.
Great album, genius album. I'm experiencing a little bit of listener fatigue. Like this is a lot of listening to the Beatles, right?
Yeah.
But we have, I think, maybe 4 albums left.
I think so.
We got Magical Mystery Tour, Abbey Road, Let It Be, and
I don't know if Yellow Submarine
counts as a real album. But it wasn't kind of like a greatest hits album. Because Yellow Submarine was on a previous album.
Yes, but then they made a movie, the cartoon movie, and they had like an album for that.
All the Beatles movies were terrible. Like, you know, you can't be expected to be a genius in music and in making movies.
No, I liked Hard Day's Night. I thought they did pretty good in that.
Really? What was the plot?
It was just a day in the life of what it was like to be a Beatle.
I mean, see,
It wasn't genius. It wasn't any. I just like it could have been like really bad, and it wasn't really bad.
well, maybe I'm thinking of Help. It's like, when I think of Help, I think, oh, the Beatles are trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And failing completely.
That was a mess of a movie. That was a mess of a movie. It's known to be. I mean, mess of a movie. Magical Mystery Tour was a mess of a movie. I mean,
Did they make a movie out of that?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Oh my god, it's so drug filled. I mean, it's not drug filled as in they're doing it in front of the camera, but like, I mean,
They just
so
gotten a visit
weird.
from Dr. Robert.
So weird, yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that is a bit of a detraction from some of these Beatles things we've been listening to, the last album and this one, which is there's this element of mystical drug learning shit that makes it just inherently gay. So, I mean, nobody can pull that off. Nobody can pull off, you will know the being within you if you do these drugs, because it's inherently wrong. That's not the way knowledge occurs. But drugs are just for fun, right? You do drugs for fun, not to learn things, obviously. Anyway, but you know, the Beatles aren't perfect. They're just as close as we have in the world to perfect.
Yeah.